welcome to Annoyed Kitchen. And today's Fika with your fellow Drachenwalder, we have our lovely Baroness Anna, soon to become Mistress Anna. So, hi and welcome.
Hi, good to see you. You look
Yes,
lovely.
thank you. And you too, with our matching purple colors.
Yep, true.
Yes. So, my first question usually is, how did you get started in the society? What is your first really strong memory of, like, this is the point where I got hooked?
Okay, let's think about. I got started in the society more than 20 years ago. I was very active in the what's it called, nature environment protection scene, and we had a lot of interesting people there. And one person studied history in England, and once she invited me to a medieval summer feast. Said, well, you would like that. We have nice friends over there. We have some what is it called, archery, and so I went there, and it was beautiful and amazing, and a warm summer day, and fireplace and food and stories, and I mean, actually all the Arthurian stories was really interesting. And then I got a bit into that medieval scene and got a medieval market dress, as you do. I actually still have that,
Oh,
and with long sleeves. And I also wore this to the office. And then I went to the photocopy machine. And then whenever you made it open and then closed it, then the sleeve would be in it, and you would have to put the sleeve out. It was a bit impractical.
but it's very
Uh,
romantic.
Yeah, well, yeah, one could probably say that. And with this dress, I went to Hamburg then, to my first jobs I had. And I think one person, I think it was Robert, not Robert of Canterbury, Robert Sinclair. He saw me at a complete different occasion, like at a pub or so, and said, like, you know what? According to your dress, I think you could be interested. I'm doing medieval cooking. I said, well, okay. Well, I mean, I didn't have any friends, so just went there and said, like, okay, well, let's have a feast. And I got to know more people. And then there was, I'm actually not sure who was there. I know that Jano was one of the first I met in Hamburg, and some other people. And at one point, William said, well, we are going to open a new shire here of the SCA. Would you be interested to come along? And I was like, well, I have no friends, so I can just go there. And, and then I was kind of hooked, I think, because, yeah, it was nice people, and was all a bit strange, and all the people were talking English, and I couldn't understand a thing. And I was very happy that we had a lot of German-speaking people there, and it seemed weird because it was a group in Hamburg, and you have to know back then there weren't that many people. So the next group was, I think, Meadowmarsh in Hanau, which was 4 hours drive away, and so we were pretty much alone. And and that's where it all started. And I think I never gave up. Lately, another mundane person asked me and said, well, why are you playing medieval things? Why are you doing this? And I was like, I could probably as well play anything else. It's just the people that make you stay. So I got to know more people, and I got to know interesting hobbies and beautiful garb. And I
Mhm.
mean, I love beautiful garb, so I love dressing up. I'm not so much in it for the historic correct thing, but more for having a good time. And I suppose, and that's why I told the long story, I suppose in the long way, I'm still yearning for the summer feast I had in the beginning with the one Arthurian friend, so to say. So I'm still very much the fantasy person. But looking for nice evenings at a campfire and having a bottle of something going round and telling stories and singing songs.
I don't think you are alone in that. I just the other day interviewed Duchess of Anna from Nordmark,
Mm-hmm.
and she also told how she well, our hobby tend to change, and we have become very historical correct the last couple of years, and nothing wrong with that, absolutely nothing wrong with that. We are an historical society after all, but she also kind of misses a little bit of that fantasy element, that anachronistic element, and the silliness, a little bit of the stories, the campfire, and so on. And I do think that we still have that, but I also think that we might have to strive to have that maybe a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm actually I'm trying to. I mean, when soon as we can do events again. So yeah, but when you will normally at the big events I'm organizing, you will always find a place for people together. I'm very keen on the center fire. I'm very keen on not having camps, so to say. I really want the people to be together because there are only so few. And even at the bigger events, at least here in Germany, it's like 100, 120, and that's not that much. So
no,
I really try to maybe not force, but to
encourage.
invite the people to get a bit more together
Yeah.
and to try to sit somewhere relaxed. And that was the most amazing experience I probably had was with an event called Summer Bash. Summer Bash was created when I basically wanted to quit. And I said, like, okay, this is my last event, whatever. And I will just rent the space. It was a camping space, mundane camping space. And the people shall come and they shall do whatever they want. I'm not organizing anything. If you want to organize something, I will give you the structure to communicate with each other, but whatever. But we had one fireplace and we had no limits for the tents around the fireplace. So it wasn't like the mundanes here and the historical there. But I just said, like, no, let's gather around the fireplace. And in the end, supposedly it was one of the most liked events, and people still talk about it, and I feel like, well, I didn't do that much, so it feels a bit weird.
I,
And that's currently, I think, if you give people space and time, then they will perfectly manage themselves. You don't have to do way more.
I agree with you there. I think, uh, and I think what you did was, like you said, you gave them the structure to communicate, uh, but you didn't tell people what to do. They had to choose for themselves what they wanted to do, and that is usually the best way of making people have a good time, I think. I mean, it's I do think it's very important to have the structure so that people, if they want to hold a class, or if they want to do fighting or whatever they want to do, can find each other and organize that. But I don't think as an autocrat you have to feel the pressure of producing stuff for people to do. I think that we are so creative in this society, so I think that we will find that on our own.
I think so too.
I think so too. Speaking about autocrating events, you have been autocrating both big and small events. I mean, the first time we met, you autocrated my coronation.
I remember.
Oh yes, oh yes. When me and my future king to be drove, was it like 11 hours? We completely miscalculated the time it took to drive through Germany. Ended up there way late on Friday evening, and you were just so patient with us running up and back and forth,
Oh,
you know so, but that was not what we're going to talk about. You organized events, and you have also been an officer. You have been seneschal. Have you held any other offices?
Yeah, I was active on a local area, I have to say, on a local level. I started with Chatelain, deputy Chatelain, and then went to Chatelain. And then I was exchequer for a while, seneschal. For a very short while, I was doing something with posthorn, probably also deputy thingy. And then probably the biggest, biggest I did was the exchequer for Central Region, so deputy exchequer, and that's all about it. I mean, I'm not. I thought about it actually last night because I knew you would ask that question, and I thought I'm curious. I don't see myself as an officer person. I gave that up 5, 6 years ago, I think, because at a certain point, for me personally, I felt it drains more energy than it gives. And I felt I only have to write reports and I get nothing back. And I don't know why I should write those reports, and it doesn't make sense. And then I really enjoyed organizing events, and we only had very few events in Central Region. And I thought maybe my energy is spent better there. And so that's why normally I would say no, please don't give me any offers, because I mean, I will do it if it's necessary, if it's most of the time. I mean, I remember one time when I was seneschal, it was basically necessary to keep the group from falling apart, for going off the grid.
Yeah.
So uh, and I feel that's not how it should be. I so I belong. I'm not sure if I belong to any fraction, but if I were to belong to one fraction, then it would be the one to say way less officers. We don't need so many officers. So let's concentrate on the game. Let's concentrate on being together, and let's reduce the administrative stuff as much as possible. I mean, there are of course reasons, and of course US American reasons why there has to be some kind of office. But I don't think, and that has changed over the years, that you necessarily need an office for everything and everywhere. So yeah.
This is a really interesting topic. And one of the things I'm hear you say that I feel is very, very important is the fact you felt it drained energy from you. This was not your thing. So you went to do your thing, which is autocrating events instead, and doing other things. And I think that is so important to stretch, that an office should, even if it is a job for me in a kind of way, because when you step up to an office, you have things that you kind of have to do. But it's so important that if you feel that it's draining you, just let it go. This is, I mean, this is a hobby. We don't get paid.
Yeah.
So even if it's a job, it's still, it shouldn't cost you energy. It should give you energy. I think that is very important. But then what you said next there, we have too many officers and too much administration. And you said you felt drained, like all the reporting, all the administration stuff. You didn't see where it was going or what the use was it for. Do you think we can benefit if we have, instead of having one person at an office, have like officers groups more,
Hmm.
smaller work groups?
I haven't thought about it, and I think it depends on the office, and depends on the job. What my, I mean, it's very interesting because right now in the Law Council, we are talking about the section in the Kingdom Law about officers, and my personal pet peeve right now, this might change, is that I think it's a bit like an event organization. You don't necessarily need a head cook or a herald or a chirurgeon or whatever the normal positions are. but you need someone to do the jobs, the tasks. So I'd like to concentrate more on, okay, what are the actual tasks to be done?
Mhm.
And does it really have to be one person doing all these tasks? Or does it really have to be this task for that office? And then we always discuss about the whole office, but it's not about the office, it's about what needs to be done. And so in a way, yeah, you could be right. Suppose at least for some offices or tasks in that way, administrative tasks, let's say that way, that we could have more um, groups of people. For example, yeah, why not? I mean, it doesn't have to be one person. I mean, it should
Mhm.
be probably one person streamlining things or organizing things. But right now, I also feel that if you're asked to be, okay, would you like to become an officer, you would normally stand in front of this wall of like duties, and you're like, oh God, what am I
Mhm.
what am I supposed to do? And it would maybe be better if you'd say, okay, can you do this job? And can someone else probably do that job? So if you are, let's say, if you're a chronicler for a shire, and
Mhm.
you don't like using the internet, I mean, maybe you can send letters and write stuff, and you're a wonderful poet and then can write beautiful words, and then someone else can do the technical stuff for you. So it doesn't have to be one office or one officer in that
Mhm.
case. So I mean, the SCA is a big boat and a very slow boat. So
Yeah.
there not many things will change very fast. But yeah, we definitely have to keep in mind 21st century. So it changes. I could imagine Earl Marshal to have more than one task, to put it away a bit, or probably not so much Exchequer, I have to admit, because Exchequer is the one. I mean, you only have
Yeah.
one spreadsheet. That's what you have.
Let's leave the officers now.
Yay! Yes,
Yay!
officers.
Yes. I know that this was a hard topic for you, but I still wanted to address it because I think it's really interesting to have that view from a person that have done the offices and said this was not for me. Uh, and I think, like I said, that is a very important insight in our hobby that you should not do stuff that you don't feel you get energy from. This is
Mm.
a hobby, you should have fun. So let's continue with something fun. And the question is, during events, what would you like to see more of? We have already kind of touched this area with,
Hmm.
the fire and so on. Is there something more that you want love to see more of?
Well, people.
I think right now we're all like, "Ah."
Okay, thinking about events. So the first answer that came to my mind was swords. When I started SCA, men tended to wear steel in court and then to very in a ceremony put it away when they entered court. I really like to see more men wearing spiffy, awesome garb, ideally with steel. That's I love that. It's just cool. And I know, I mean, there are restrictions, etc., etc., but I mean, you can do it. I mean, we did. I know we did. So if as long as you secure the sword, you can wear it, depending on the country. I know, but this is. If you
And
ask me, what I would love to see, this and more men guiding their partners or other women. I'm sorry, I have to be the gender guy now. Uh, into the front. I mean, we can do it the other way around as well. I mean, if a single male is called before the king and queen, then maybe, I mean, even a female can come up, or another male. I mean, it's just this thing of, I will guide you there. This is something special. This is not, in a way. In a way, I mean, I know I love. We are a low key kingdom, but for this court to just pretend this is something special. This is now you get in front of the king and queen, and not just in front of your drinking buddies you met yesterday at the bardic fire. Although you did, but
Yeah.
a bit more pomp and circumstance. I think that's the short answer.
Yeah. I am the gal that says if guy would try to escort me to the king, I would like give him a death stare and say, "Hey, I can walk there myself. Thank you very much." I can see your point. And like you say, it doesn't have to be a guy always escorting a woman. It can be a woman escorting a woman, or a woman escorting a man, or a man escorting a man. Just that the thing is like you don't get up there yourself; you get escorted up.
And that's, I mean, and if you phrase it that way, if you're saying I get escorted, then
Yeah.
it doesn't make you small. It
No.
doesn't have to. It can also be, well, this is the mighty Viking warrior, female warrior in that case, and then that person who will guide you basically can more or less present you. So it doesn't mean you can't go yourself, but to say like, okay, this is, and
Yeah.
I'm standing here, and here's
It's a little bit like an honor guard.
a bit,
Yeah.
a bit. And I,
I can see that. So more spiffiness, more steel swords, more pomp and circumstances during courts. That's what you wish for.
that was my first thought, I have to say. Other than that, hmm, let's
People
see.
people
Well,
get
I mean the usual stuff: less peerage meetings, more time to spend with others. I'm for example, and I'm probably that's not according to others in the kingdom, but I'm a great fan of seating plans for
Mhm.
feast. Because for me, feast is the most holy time in the evening, apart from the Friday evening party. So feast is something where I want to sit down and relax and have a good time. And if my feast starts with looking around, where can I sit down? That really makes me mad. So I'm a big fan of seating plans of to at least somehow bring a structure in it so that you don't have to
Yeah.
worry and
I
so
mean,
and
I know that there will be some people that said, but I want to sit with my friends. And yes, I can understand that, but I am actually on your side in this, because having coming yeah, I mean, I have been in that situation where I come into a feast hall, and I mean, I know people, but they are not my bestest buds. I They are acquaintances, so I don't have a special place that's just okay. That's where I'm going to sit.
yeah.
And me being a Swede, and I think this goes for most Europeans, you don't want to be a bother. You don't want to push yourself on other people. So that made it very hard. It's kind of like I stood there in the hallway, waiting for basically everyone to be seated so I can see where is a seat for me. And I have never regret sitting down because I met new people and I like meeting new people. And I have never had a boring feast. If you have a seating with seats organized for new people or for people that doesn't belong to a certain group at that event, that comes in from another area, or there could be a thousand of reasons, that will make it easier for them to not feel left out.
In a way, yeah. And it's maybe easier to put your name on the sheet instead of going to every place. Well, is there a place for me? And you feel so awkward. And
Yeah.
I really hate this. And so it's not the best solution. I have to say, it's not the best. And it also, again, it leaves people out. It leads to the fact that groups of people will always sit together and don't mix. But on the other hand, you can't force people to mix if they don't want
No.
to. And if they want to sit at that evening with their friends, they will probably do. And they will very awkwardly silent sit at the table with complete strangers. "Oh, well, you also here. Nice, fine, good food."
I mean, I come from the university environment here in Sweden, where we have this. student feasts, which is very much resemblance of what we do in the SCA. You have a high table with the toastmaster and some other people, and you have the rest of the students sitting. And I was active in the student union for a very long time. The thing is, since I come from that environment, for me, it's not a strange thing to have organized seats. And if a group of people come and tell the person organizing the seats, like, this is the only time during the event we can hang as a group of friends, can you please put us together? That would not be a problem.
Yeah.
So I think we can go together in this and like have a sort of, like you say, you can't force people to mix, and you shouldn't. But I still think that we can do the seating for feasts a little bit different.
More relaxed. I think that that's all what I want to know. I just want to be able at, let's say at 5 to say, okay, I will probably sit here. I mean, and even if that changes in the evening a bit, that's fine. It's just this. Otherwise, you have to rush, and then you rush into the hall with everyone else, and then you're looking around and like, okay, you're sitting there. Oh no, I wanted to.
I think this depends a little bit on the site too. I mean, some sites you have to use the one room for basically everything. And I think at those sites, if you draw up like a map of the room with the tables so everybody can put their names on it, that would be better.
Yeah.
Because if you're a bit socially awkward and alone like I was a couple of times in the beginning, I mean, I can just put my name somewhere and then see what happens.
Yep, exactly. And you never know
I know.
who will be there. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not forcing myself on to a party because they will put their names on there and say, Agnes is sitting there. Okay, we can sit with her.
Yeah.
So,
or who is that sitting there? Well, whatever, we will still sit there. I mean, and then you see in the evening. And that's
exactly. So I think that is something to take with us and think about a little bit about, like, how can we organize feast seating in a way so people don't have to stand there stressed and like, can I sit here? Can I sit here? Can I sit here? Because I too don't really like that.
One of the best things, actually, Baroness Magdalena once invented for one of our events, because we had a feast hall that was so cramped. We had shelves outside the hall, and we basically said to, it was actually your coronation, I think, and we said to everyone, would you please leave whatever you don't need for feast gear outside in the shelves? Because normally at feast it's so cramped because everyone has his basket with him or her.
Yeah.
So that's like, oh my goodness, and you really couldn't do that because it was the hall itself was full. And so that worked really well, and I would recommend that if it's possible at the site. I would really recommend that because you don't need your 6 wine bottles all the time.
No.
It's okay if they stand in the hall. And I mean, we are the SCA. No one is, hopefully, no one is going to steal a thing.
No, I don't think so.
So, yeah.
And I do know that Arnimetsa have done the similar things where they have said, like, please put your baskets over there because it's just haven't been room at the tables because it's been so cramped.
Yep.
And I think that is an excellent idea. Just for, at least for the feast halls where you have kind of a limited space, which we tend to have the latest couple of years. I mean,
yes,
we are kind of in a space. I usually say that we are kind of in a space now where we are a little bit too big for our normal sites, but we're a little bit too small for the bigger sites. So
and also you have to be able to afford it. I have to say, that's face it.
Event as autocrating events, it's not easy. It's constant mixing with numbers and mixing with different ideas and about how do we make it accessible for the most amount of people for the lowest cost possible.
And every event is is singular, I think, but that's what I love about it. Every event lives with the people they are there and depends on which time do we have, where are we, who's attending,
Mm-hmm.
and I, as I said, I love it. And none of my arts in April was the same, although the concept is always the same, and probably the prices as well. But that's what I wanted to say. At one point, the king and queen did intend to come, and I didn't know that before I looked into the kingdom calendar. And you have to know, Arts in April is a very, very, very small event. Regularly, it's there's supposed to be 32 people, and we managed to cram in 40. But that's it. That was a site can hold. And then I looked into the kingdom calendar, and there was a K and Q behind Arts in April, and I was like, um, okay, okay, this is and then
Think,
the first people came and said like, well, don't worry, it's a nice couple, and you will manage. And I was like, well, it's not about the king and queen. That's okay. I mean, the king and queen is like whatever. I mean, I had so many coronations. That's okay. I can deal with that. The point is, if the king and queen are coming, and they were from Sweden, then a lot of more people will come just because king and queen are there.
yeah,
And you're like, but how am I supposed to deal with those? I can't. And with that event, it really was a problem because I couldn't. I seriously, because of fire restrictions, I couldn't possibly put
no.
more people on the site. So that was really tough. I have to say.
And for me, working within a job that handles security, fire restriction do not uh, go over that. I mean,
Yep.
there is a reason that number is there, and I totally get what you mean. I mean, the king and queen itself is not a problem.
Nope.
That's
Rarely.
but when the king and queen comes, people tend to come too. I had a similar situation where I was feastocrat, and this was when there was supposed to be a vigil at the event, and the event normally has like 20 to 30 people. And the site was excellent for 20 to 30 people. But suddenly we had 110 people.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
and
interested.
I had a kitchen that was smaller than my home kitchen with one stove, one normal home kitchen stove, no restaurant stove, anything. And I had to cook a feast for 110 people. And we could maximum be 3 people in the kitchen at the same time, or otherwise we couldn't move. It was so crowded. It was just basically like a very small corridor. Lots of places for your workspace, so that was good, but we couldn't be more than 3 people. So yeah, I mean, that was like, oops. So I totally get your, like, this little bit of like almost panic when you're like, how do I fix this?
Yes.
And what I like about the SCA is that normally you do.
Yes. But I mean, with very creative
Yeah.
solutions. Let's say it that way. I know that at one point, and I wouldn't want to tell very much more, but at one point, I was figuring out how can I have a court in a hallway because we simply didn't have any other space, and I was actually thinking about seating the people like in a plane, in a very small plane, so 2 on the one side and 1 on the other, and then you would just have one very small corridor to go through. And I was like, okay, can we make this a bit more romantic? And can we have some electric candles or something like that to make it look somehow festive? That was a thought experiment that didn't happen, but it was like,
What
this will
worst
be very interesting.
worst thing have happened when it comes to quotes? I mean, and vigils. When me and Morales were putting Renica on vigil as a laurel, there was also this problem with the sites that's like are we going to have her sit vigil out in the hallway among the shoes? That's not really,
Hmm.
not how you want to have a vigil for a person. And we ended up with a great solution. And I mean, the autocrats was just dolls that just fixed stuff for us.
Hmm.
But it's sometimes, things are just like, okay, so this happens. Now we have to fix it. And with the feast for 110 people, we had two extra hot plates and two amazing people, Tokrake and his then girlfriend, sat out actually in the hallway cooking food
Yeah.
because that's where they fitted.
Sometimes I think we try to create a dream. And as we had it before with the side prices, that it helps sometimes to be transparent and say, okay, this is what a site costs. And we are organizing that for you, and we're happy for you if you are here, but that's the reason why it is a bit more expensive. And sometimes, I mean, especially listening to that story, maybe we are a bit too shy talking about work, and it's a narrow path between bragging and between being transparent. Sometimes I think it's helpful to um, to take the populace in your boat and basically say, okay, listen, guys, we might have problems with feast tonight because this is our problem and this is our point, and that's how we want to deal with it, and um, we try to make the best out of it. Please be patient. And I suppose most of the people will, because as you said, because of the prices. Um, if the people don't expect anything specific, then you can get them there and basically say, okay,
Yeah.
maybe not what we wanted, but it's what we have, and it's good to have all of you here. Let's make the best out of it.
Mm.
Sometimes I think some people in the SCA, as far as I remember from back then when we had events, tend to, well, in Germany it's sein Licht unter den Scheffel stellen, tend to be too shy and too much in the background. So I'm not supposed to say anything, and I think that's not always the best idea.
No, seriously not. And I've been mentioning this during other interviews too. I mean, ask for help. People want to help. People are there to help. We are a very helpful society. So, but we are also a society filled with people that have this. I think I don't know why we have it, but I noticed that a lot of people are like, I'm taking this on me to fix, so that's on me to fix, and they are very afraid to ask for help because that I don't know if they are afraid to look at like they couldn't handle the task. I know I have been in the past. I'm not there anymore. I realized that it's not a failure. It's actually like things happen, or if it's just people are think it's hard to ask for help for some reasons, and I think that is something that we as a collective need to work on because the, people like to help. I mean, if I had during that feast asked people, like explained, okay, we do not have plates enough for table service, and we don't have people serving this feast enough. So this means we have to do it as a buffet style, and that might mean that the food will be cold
Cold. Mm.
for the last people that comes. I would have bet my ass on that that would have been solved in some place, in some way, by people.
Yeah.
But back then, I was a little bit too afraid. I mean, I was like, shit, this is not gonna work, and people are gonna look at me as a failure. So I just made everything with my little group of helpers, and we didn't ask for help. Looking back
Interesting.
on it, not the best solution.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first, um, we had an amazing feast cook in Nice Crossing, And I remember one of the first events I've attended. And she had a huge feast, which she prepared with some helpers. And a lot of people were in her kitchen cutting carrots. At one point, a person asked her and said, like, why didn't you buy pre-cut carrots? Because she bought pre-cut other stuff, and she's really a professional cook. She knows what to do. And she said, well, that's a short answer. It's very easy, because there are always people who want to help. And then they can cut carrots. And
Yep.
then they feel good. And if not enough carrots are cut, that doesn't matter, because I don't necessarily need them in my feast.
No.
So I can just use whichever amount is there. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So
Yeah, I know that both me and other people in Nordmark have done similar, not exactly that smart solution, which I will take with me. But like, okay, so we have kids that want to help.
mhm.
Let them do marzipan figures for the search. They
Yeah.
are super creative kids. It will be adorable little figures. And I mean, if people don't think that the kids' hands were clean, I know people have that opinion, they don't have to eat it. They will just stand there and be pretty. And other people will eat it and they will say, oh, what adorable, good kids you are. And the kids will feel like they have a place, they have,
Yeah.
something to do. And for the moms of those kids, I know that they have been, well, like, thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Kids are sitting down and doing stuff for at least half an hour.
But again, I mean, isn't that fascinating that you're saying it's all about the people,
Mm-hmm.
and let's do things together. Let's create something together. And as long as you have that in mind, I mean, probably not every time, because you're human after all. It's your weekend as well. But if you have that in mind, it's a wonderful experience. And if we try, because you asked me beforehand, what do I want more of events? And I want less of this the event team and this the rest. I want more of we are coming together
Mm-hmm.
and we are creating something and just inviting people to do things. Maybe we should do, even as event stewards, maybe we should do that more often and keep positions open deliberately and deliberately say, okay, we need help at this specific point. I mean, I know I did that for smaller events. I think on a smaller scale, but maybe I should do that more often, where I would basically, or I know the Double Wars team does that and says, okay, we need help with the cleaning, and you don't have to do all the cleaning. It
No.
just once is fine. Once is ideal. We should do that more often and with more positions or tasks. We're not talking about positions or offices, but
No, just
tasks.
tasks. Again, and there we come back to your what we started this whole long conversation. I realize I have not asked more or less any of my usual question to you, but this has been such an interesting conversation about autocrating and how to do things different ways. And going back to what you said about officers, and look what are the tasks that needs to be done, and you don't have to have a position to do that task. You can just do that task, but to do that task you need to know that it needs to be done, right?
Right, and that's exactly the one of the problems right now. Yes,
Yes.
I completely understand you.
Yeah, but during, and I think it's the same when it comes to autocrating in an event. I mean, you as the autocrat, that's the head autocrat or the head feastocrat, you know what tasks that needs to be done.
One other virtue, although that's not the correct word, but I'm lacking words because I'm not a native
I think my
speaker.
head's getting a little bit tired.
Yeah, is that you yourself know which tasks you are doing, and then because only then you are able to delegate them, and that needs another set of skills. How do I delegate things? Which tasks are there that I can delegate, and how do I do that? And how do I explain it? I mean, it's easy in the kitchen, and maybe that's one of the reasons why so many people love to be in the kitchen. I agree with you because it's easy. It's small steps, and it's like cut this, stir that, and that's fine. But I do think we can do that for more tasks in the society too. We can do that for a lot of autocrating tasks. We can do that for officers, but it doesn't need the awareness of what is the task
Yeah.
and how can I teach someone, or how can I phrase it so that someone is able to do this. We want to have a safe space on the weekend where
Mm.
we want to relax, and what relaxation is for everyone and where everyone comes from, that differs so much. But that was a major, in German you say ein aha moment, where you're like,
Yeah.
aha, this is how it works.
Yes. And I think we will continue to have our aha moments in the SEA. I think we will never. I mean, I see this SEA sort of like a living creature in a way. It's a living organism. And the day a living organism stops evolving, stops changing, stops interacting, that's kind of the day it dies, sadly. It sounds very harsh, but for me, that's like, that's kind of how it is, and that's why I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of trying different things, and encourage people to try different things. And I mean, don't be afraid of failure. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right?
True. Yeah, and that's yeah. I think the same. When I try to explain why I'm still in the SCA, I keep saying, well, it's a playground for me. It's a playground for the real life because you can learn.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you. We learn so things, and I also like that with SEA. I love the what you said about it's a playground. Um,
yeah, and
and
whatever you like. I mean, if you want to go more into history, learn more about history. If you go more into psychology, or what I personally like very much, interkingdom anthropology, which is a highly, completely fascinating topic. I was there like years ago, and now the interest awakes new, and it will be very interesting to see where that goes, and just to see like, okay, why is this kingdom acting like that? Why are the Swedes acting like
yeah,
this? Why are the French acting like that?
I
So
mean,
this is
I am actually. I mean, I have read ethnology at university, which is an anthropology
ah
site. So for me,
awesome.
that is. Oh God, we need to talk more about this at some point.
Definitely, yeah.
Completely, because that is really fascinating about our kingdom, that we have so many cultures, we have so many um, cultures within one and the same principality or barony and so on. And I mean, we that is interesting, but I will not go down that rabbit hole right now, because we have talked for a long time already, and even though I haven't asked you all my usual questions, I will ask you one more question before we stop and see if we talk for half an hour more about this.
Let's see.
So, I mean, the pandemic happened. We haven't been able to do so much during this last year. What else have you been doing the last year that has been, or has it just been like, shit, I have to plan a vigil?
I'm trying to be uplifting and hopeful. I'm trying at the same time to push it away and basically not plan it, because I'm like, if I plan it now and I will look forward to it, you can't hold on the level of
No,
preparation or concentration or happiness
no,
for such a long time. So I did what a good event steward does. I delegated stuff. I
good for
basically
you.
said, yeah, and I basically said, well, talk to me whenever. I mean, my job is to find an event where ideally before summer this year. So it would be very nice to have the ceremony with um, Jacqueline and Eriker. That would be nice. I know it probably isn't given, but well, let's see. But everything else, I'm talking with a small circle of people about it. And I know some things are already organized, and I have written an in case of elevation, and I think as soon as we have an event and that is safe, there will be more detailed planning.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's very, for me, the point is right now, I have two options. The one option is what I really want to do. I really want to have the ceremony with as much as international people as possible. So it would be either a kingdom event or double wars, for example, like a bigger event. But that might not be possible. So
No.
the second option is to do it at a German event, which would be not impossible. It would be very much a pity for me personally. And the
Yeah.
third one is to make it online, and I'm thinking about that now as well. I'm trying not to think about it because
Yeah.
I really don't want that. I'm really trying to keep up hope that we can meet next year, and then I will start thinking and maybe planning.
I think that is smart, and the other people that I have talked to that got enriched during this year is kind of at the same stage. It's like can't do much planning before you actually know what to plan for. So constantly making plans and see them going down the toilet because of the pandemic, it will just drain you. So I think you are doing the right thing. With that said, I do hope that it will be at an event where people like me, not living in Germany, will be able to attend, because I do know that there are so many people around Drachenwald that not from Germany that would love to attend.
But since you were asking me, I mean, because I thought about that, I knew that question would come, so I thought about it some nights ago. What has changed a bit is since summer is that I will phrase it bluntly, and I ask you not to take it as it is. It's not important anymore, and of course that's not true because it is important, etc. But it has a different kind of importance now. So I'm on my way to moving forward. I remember on my own SCA path at one point in time I said, well, I might never become a peer. I can still act like one because that's my life. That was a very good decision, I think. And right now I see myself in a similar position. It wasn't what normally would happen, and I can't change it right now. So I will try to just go forward. And whenever it happens, then we will see what we can do about it and how this will change me or if it changes me. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I still I try to keep the magic. I try to because that is why I want not to overdo it because I really try to yeah keep let's assume it's a magical moment.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean you have to know that I got my award of arms at a Shire meeting in a living room. This was one of the worst experiences one could have. And actually back then, with my former self, my very Prussian and this isn't fair self, I actually wrote to the king and queen and said, like, very politely, I'm very glad about the award. Thank you very much. It would have been great if I would have gotten it in court and not at a Shire meeting because it totally took away, well, everything basically. And I knew they meant well. I mean, it was one of those situations where you are like, well, we want them to have the award at the same event, but now she isn't here. What are we going to do now? So I mean, that's a totally normal decision, and sometimes you have to make this decision. I can absolutely understand this, but I'm a big fighter for if any possible give out an AOA in person because maybe for some people that's the only award they will ever get. It's the one first really magic moment.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
having told that story, that's one of the reasons why I cling so much on the event for the elevation and not doing it online because I'm like, okay, well, fine. Now I'm again one of the
I
first people to got the Brit in the pandemic. Well, fine, nice.
I mean I
Could it
mean
just become PP easy, please?
yeah, I mean
No. Okay.
I totally get it. And what you said about AOAs, I think that's very important too. I mean, I'm a scribe. I do scroll works, and I do know that some people think that it's just an AOA. You can do something simple. They might not be that nonchalant about it, but you get kind of like,
I get, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
I'm being blunt. For me, it's an AOA. Okay, I will put in a huge effort in this scroll because that might be the only scroll that I get.
Yeah,
So
I
so
like that.
so I agree with you there. For me also, an AOA is a really important thing to get, and I think it's really important if you can try to have it on court. But sometimes things happens, and uh, I also think it's good to communicate around it, talking about it, so that the future king and queens can think about this. I mean, we cannot know stuff until somebody tells us stuff. Again, we're not mind readers. Uh, and I do think that you are totally in your right to have your vigil and your elevation at an event.
Yeah. But that's what I wanted to say with the moving forward. Right now, I'm at the point where I'm like, I can also wait 2 years or 3 years or 5 years
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. It doesn't
No.
change what I'm doing in the SCA. And you were asking, what are you doing in the SCA in the last year? And in the first half year, I did a lot of stuff trying to keep people together online. So I was the creator of the weekly baronial meetings, which now very successfully Elisa von Styra has taken over and organizes that uh, um, very good every week. So thank you, Elisa. Um, and I try to join courses, join discussions. There are a lot of actually really great discussion groups on Facebook about the SCA where you can go a bit more into deep thought discussions. I'm right now working on a new garb. Of course, I mean, Vigil garb at one point. No, well, that won't become the Vigil garb. But I did some more Roman research, basically trying to keep the spirits up.
Mm.
And then of course planning the winter coronation, which was then something and which was now cancelled and is another something. And I should probably now start planning for arts and, well, it's not arts in April, it's mayhem in May because it's end of May, but it's the same side. So
Mm.
trying to keep the game going. I think that's the
Yeah.
short answer.
I think it's a good answer. Trying to keep the game going, and I mean, this pandemic will hopefully not be forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, let's pray that I can see you this summer,
Yes.
in person, and we can, hang in person, sitting around the fire, and just tell stories. I'm
Yep.
looking so much forward to that.
I'm
Uh,
I'm also I'm hoping for summer. And I
yeah.
also made travel plans and to see how to get there. So yes.
Yeah, I haven't. I must admit I haven't made any plans yet. Mostly because I have no idea how my life will be at the summer. With work situations and stuff like that. But I do plan for some events. I can't make travel plans, but I'm looking at what events can I and how, will I have possibility to go to. So thank you so much for doing this rather long interview with all these super interesting discussions you and I had. Um, so, mwah, thank you so much. And goodbye.
Bye.